Welcome back to another episode from Orca Camp here on Vancouver Island. What are you watching here is real life. This was filmed from shore on August 20th, 2018, long before social media started shaping what people think whale watching should look like. So in this clip, we were standing quietly on the shoreline watching the northern resident Orcas family, or technically two families, pass by. This was one of those rare perfect days on the coast, calm waters, good visibility, and most importantly, salmon were in the area because that's what brings these whales here. Northern resident killer whales don't come for us. I'm sorry to break it to you guys. They come for their food, they come for revisiting with their family members, and but most importantly, of course, they're following their salmon, and when the salmon are moving, the orcas follow. So who exactly are you seeing here? What we are witnessing here is part of the A5 pod, a well-known family within the northern resident orca community. You are likely seeing the members of the A23s and the A25s, and again, I believe possibly some A42s, but I might have to double check. These matrilines are commonly traveling together. That's something we often observe. These families are deeply connected and frequently travel in tight formations, just like as you can see here in the video. And you will notice a few whale watching boats in the distance. Everyone had a really respectful and shared orca sighting here. There was no rushing, there was no crowding, there was no pushing through, just a bunch of professionals and locals giving the whales room while still being part of something incredible. And this is what I love most about this sighting, is the younger whales, of course. Who doesn't like orca babies? You will often see them surfacing and a little more energetically, slightly off sync and still figuring things out. They are learning how to travel efficiently, how to conserve energy, and of course how to hunt, sleep, and eat. Everything they need to survive, just like we pass it down to our children. They learn from their families. And that's why these moments matter so much, because every calf you see here represents the future of this population. Specifically thinking of whale watching, I mean, here's something important I feel I want to point out is if you are used to seeing orcas on social media, you might expect them to be right beside you, right beside your boat, right beside your kayak, breaching non-stop, but that is unfortunately not the case. What you see here in the video is what it actually looks like. And in this video, we are also very lucky because we have two families traveling together. So there's many of them, and they're steady and they're purposeful, and we keep our respectful distance. Now, back in 2018, I should mention this, the approach distance and regulations here on the North Vancouver Island was 100 meters. Today, it is 200 meters for northern residents and 400 for southern residents. And that change happened for a reason, because giving them space means they can travel, feed, and communicate without that close-up disturbance. And honestly, this kind of viewing, for me personally, it is more powerful because you're not interrupting the moment and changing their behavior. You are witnessing it from the far. Now, that's what I would like to point out is responsible wildlife viewing. And now here's something not everyone realizes when it comes to whale watching. Some of the northern resident families here on Vancouver Island, including whales related to the A5 pod you see in this particular video, have actually connections to orcas that were taken into captivity decades ago. So here's a little background story. Back in the 1960s and 1970s, several whales were captured from this very waters. Those captures have lasting impacts, of course, on the entire orca family and of the orca line, because in orca society, as you know, family means everything. They don't just leave each other. So when one was taken, it wasn't just an individual loss, it affected the entire pod, of course. Today we understand so much more, and that's why everything you see here, the distance, the rules, the quiet approach, the respect, it all exists to protect what's still here. Now, there's another layer to this story, if you don't mind pointing this one out. One of the whales connected to this very family is Corky. So now Corky was taken from these waters in approximately 1969, right here in British Columbia on Vancouver Island from the A5 pod. She was only roughly about 4 years old when she was taken from her family. And that time we didn't quite understand what we know today, that orcas live in deeply connected family groups and that they stay with their mothers for life. Now, family for them is as much as for us human everything, and Corky was taken from hers. Now, with a sad story today, more than 50 years later, she's still alive in captivity though, while her family continues to pass through these same waters. I like to point this out because every single summer when her family passes by, I send out a little prayer to Corky. And the same families we are watching here, like the A5 pod, again the A23s and A25, these are her relatives, brothers she has never met, nieces and nephews, and so on. So she knew, and some she never got to the chance to meet, and that's something that's hard to fully grasp at times when you work out here, because in the wild that separation would never happen. Orcas don't leave each other, they stay together. So what's different today? Today, and because of that, there's now a growing movement actually to bring Corky closer to home, not back into the wild, because after all this time, of course, that would be very hard to accomplish. Some even say that would be impossible. But into an ocean sanctuary, a protected space in her natural habitat where she could maybe feel the currents again and be somewhat close to her family members and hear the ocean and potentially retire how every orca should retire. Now, Grey Wolf Expeditions, of course, supports this movement because we believe that even after all these years, Corky deserves something closer to natural life than a concrete tank. This isn't just wildlife and random orcas. Those are individuals that have names and families. This is just an authentic adventure, as you can imagine. And maybe next time we will see you out here on the water and share this amazing experience with you.